Before Drew Peterson received his sentence, the judge rejected the motion for a new trial by the defense team.
They claimed that one of Peterson's original attorneys, Joe Brodsky, was so ineffective that a new trial was warranted.
Joining us now is Drew Peterson's former attorney, Joel Brodsky.
Good morning, Joel.
Good morning. Good morning. Well, yeah, that was rejected out of hand, that was any ineffective assistance. So,
well, you said you felt vindicated somewhat by the rejection of that by the judge, but let me pull up a full screen, a couple of the quotes from the judge to show how he said this. He said, "It's clear from the beginning that he, Brodsky, was out of his depth." The judge also said he did not possess the lawyerly skills that were necessary to undertake this matter. So even though you feel vindicated that it was they didn't get a new trial, he kind of shot you down there.
Well, that's not. I don't disagree with the judge. This was at that time my first murder trial. I had done hundreds of other felonies, armed robberies, attempted murders, things like that, but never a full-blown murder before. I've done several now, and I have actually other than this case, I won the other one. But I don't think any lawyer really could do this case by themselves. It was so complex. There were thousands of pages. And because I realized it was my first murder trial, that's why I brought on board other lawyers to assist me who had done murder trials. So I wasn't...
And everyone seems to agree the turning point was the lawyer, Harry Smith, calling to the stand. Yeah. Why did you think that there would be more good than harm done from your perspective? See,
that's not why Harry Smith was called, and this is why the false allegations that were made against me were upsetting. And now after he's been sentenced, I can tell you the real reason. Harry Smith was called because Drew insisted that Harry Smith be called. Drew told us that unless we called Harry Smith to state that Stacy was trying to extort him, that Drew Peterson, would insist on taking the stand. And that would have been an unmitigated disaster. If Drew took the stand, there's no way we would win. So our choice was let Drew take the stand or call Harry Smith.
But isn't he supposed to take your advice as the lawyer? Didn't you tell him that's not a good idea?
Yes,
and where did the other lawyers not speak up? They said you were a bully. You bullied him into that.
Please. Not the other lawyers, only Greenberg. And you'll notice that Joe Lopez didn't speak up once during the post-trial hearings. He did that because he knew that the allegations were false. But Harry, we had no choice. If Drew took the stand, it would have been over. Drew could not take the stand. He insisted. It was his right. You can't deny if a guy wants to testify, a lawyer cannot stop him. If he wants to testify against your advice, you can't stop him. So we were left with a Hobson's choice: call Harry Smith, or let Drew take the stand. Drew was serious about taking the stand, so I called, and I'm the one that did it. I'm the one that took on the witness because it was a risky call, and I felt that as leader, that's just not a title. You're the guy that's got to take charge when things that risky have to be done. And that's what I did.
Are you surprised the way the jury reacted to Smith's testimony?
Well, I was surprised by Smith's changing his testimony from the prior times he had, testified. He did change his testimony.
Meaning what?
Well, I thought that as a lawyer, he would have reviewed his prior testimony and stayed consistent. So it surprised me that he changed his testimony. But I think he was he was in his own mind, I believe, trying to assist the prosecution. In their case, by kind of slanting his testimony in their favor.
Had he not talked about Stacy Peterson's comments prior to that?
With who? With Smith?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And he had testified twice before on that. But when he got up on the stand, he slightly changed his testimony. Be that as it may, anytime you have an uncontrolled witness, it's somebody that you're not calling, it's not your witness, not really technically your witness, there's that risk. But that's why I said it was a risky witness. We called him only because Drew insisted. And we had no choice.
Well, we saw Drew Peterson speaking on the stand yesterday. A lot of people say he was rambling. You heard James Glasgow say it was psychotic, what he was rambling, or a psychopath. But you trotted him out in the media when you were defending him. Do you think that was the best approach looking back? I mean, we see pictures of you guys, smoking a cigar with the other lawyers. Do you think maybe that contributed to a bad image, or what?
Even the judge said yesterday that in this day and age, trying to get out ahead of a story is not necessarily a bad idea. And that's what we were trying to do. That's why we brought in Glenn Selig from, a media expert from Florida, Selig Multimedia, to try to assist us in that. We were also trying to raise some little bit of money for his defense, because we thought if he's indicted, we're going to need money. So we had a reason. We just didn't do it for the fun of it. There was, I guess, a reason behind the madness, if you can put it.
Did it backfire on you, though?
The media, I think it backfired, yes, and I think it backfired for one reason. with Glenn, we had picked out certain formats and certain forums for him to go on, like the Today Show and such. Drew, we couldn't keep him away from any microphone that anybody put in front of him. And I think that the overexposure and his going in unaided and untrained and unprepped backfired on him because, you know, his, as he said, he admitted yesterday, his obnoxiousness came through, and that's what we didn't want. But, you know, you couldn't keep him away from a microphone with with horses.
How do you think this case will stand on appeal?
We look at, you know, and I know this is lawyers throwing garbage at other lawyers, but they really botched the post-trial motions. It was unfocused, unprepared, poorly executed. They didn't bring up a lot of issues like they didn't even bring up wasn't a change of venue. They didn't bring that up in the post-trial motions. They didn't bring up you know, due process violations on hearsay. They left a lot out, and the post-trial motion is the basis for the appeal. If it's not in the post-trial motion, with few exceptions, it can't be brought up on appeal. I think that this case, if it goes up on appeal, probably should go to the appellate defender and get a fresh, totally fresh look at it, and let them make the decision as to what the good issues are and whether or not somebody messed up and should be accused, and take the vindictiveness and the personalities out of it. That's what's probably in Drew's best interest.
Does Drew blame you for losing?
No, not at all. I mean, he knows why Harry Smith was called. He knows that he was behind it.
Do you talk to him? Have you talked to him?
I haven't talked to him in a couple of months, but no, he actually still believes to this day that calling Harry Smith was the right idea, because in his mind it showed the jury that Stacy was trying to extort money out of him, was trying to get money out of him. He didn't realize that how much the jury disliked him, and even the slightest evidence, even if it's tainted evidence against him, was going to be accepted without question by a jury, and he doesn't see that.
Do you still believe he's innocent?
I had their clients. And Drew is a client. I have lots of clients. My personal belief really has nothing to do with it. You defend everybody zealously. You defend the 10 guilty people so that the one innocent person isn't wrongfully convicted. That's the goal.
Your defense of your reputation is that it was Drew's idea.
Well, it's not a defense. That's the absolute truth. And we had no choice, because he was going to take the stand unless Harry Smith was called. And that's the bottom line. But I couldn't even say that until after post-trial motions were over, because saying that would have prejudiced his post-trial motions, and I still had duties to him as a former lawyer.
All right, Joel Brodsky, thanks for being here.
It's my pleasure.